My name is Juan Francisco, and I'm a psychic medium and tarot card reader. I've always been curious about the supernatural, the paranormal, and psychic abilities, and I'm here to share my stories and interview folks who want to share their own stories with us. Let's get to it. Is he cheating on me? Is she going to leave me? These are questions that a lot of people go to psychics with. And I'm here to talk about what are the right things for psychics to say in response to these questions. And if a psychic sees in the cards or while they're doing the intuitive, while they're channeling into their intuition, if they see something that says their husband is cheating or their wife is going to leave them, what should that psychic say? This is not always an easy topic because I think that depending on what my answer is, some people who like to get readings from psychics like me, they may not like my answer. And some psychics may also not like the answer either. But as I said in my last episode, to each their own, find your own practice, find your own way. There is no right way to do all this. But I do believe when it comes to very sensitive topics in readings, I think it's only right to be ethical as psychics. And look, I'm just going to say up front, I am not 100% accurate. And I do believe that if you ever talk to a psychic who says, oh, you can trust me, I'm 100% accurate, run, because there's no such thing. I've seen some amazing psychics and mediums do work, and I think they are pretty near perfect, and they still get things wrong. That's why I say near perfect. So I am not 100% accurate. I don't get things right all the time. Some things come up in a reading, and I don't understand what they mean, and we have to leave it at that. I tell the client, let's put a bookmark in that, and let's move on to the next thing. If something comes up for you that reminds you of what we just talked about, great. Know that it's a validation, or just let me know. Email me. But sometimes things come up in a reading and it doesn't resonate with the client. In a mediumship reading, I bring up a blue balloon, or I bring up a did your wife have a special piece of jewelry that had someone's ashes? Nope. It's like, okay, what does this mean? Is there something else with ashes? Nope. Okay, we'll put a bookmark on that and we move on. So I'm not always right. And sometimes after a reading, I learn that there was something accurate in what I said, but sometimes I don't. And in a card reading, I think it's important to understand that psychics, well, not just card readings, any kind of psychic reading, we psychics can look into different potential futures. There are some psychics who have very accurately predicted the future. But if you really think about it, there are only so many futures that can happen. So for example, of a presidential election, there are a lot of psychics doing work focused on politics right now. And I just actually learned about there is a psychic who does astrology charts or just astrological readings. And that I find very interesting because it's almost like trying to tell the future or say how things are going to progress from here on out based on astrological readings and astrological charts. I think that's really interesting. But I'm more talking about someone who says, I saw actually a psychic I used to follow a long time ago, who was on a YouTube channel run by a guy that really, really loves Donald Trump. And she told him in 2020, he's going to win. He's going to win. And he was like, yes! And there was so much confidence in what she said. And of course, depending on who you talk to these days, at least from my standpoint and based on what I saw happen in 2020, Donald Trump lost the election. Don't come at me now. Don't come at me saying it was a rigged election. Don't come at me saying that it's all conspiracy and Donald Trump won the election. please don't. Save your breath because you're not going to convince me. Save your emails. But he didn't win the election. So she was wrong. Now, do I fault her for being wrong? Absolutely not. Do I fault her for giving a prediction? I kind of do. Now, that's her prerogative. But I think it gets very tricky when we as psychics want to show how accurate we can be or how good we are at being psychic by making these really big claims like who's going to win a presidential election, fill in the blank. What I like about what the psychic medium Fernando Maron does, Fernie, he goes by Fernie, he is really great. And the reason I so appreciate him is because he does make predictions. But this is what's so brilliant. He makes the predictions and he documents when he has made the prediction. It's usually through dreams that he has, and he posts about it or he puts it up on his website. And then when something happens months or a year or two later that reflects the prediction that he made, he brings it back up. And sometimes it doesn't match the prediction he made, and he'll also talk about that. On his website, it's fernandomaron.com, 2 R's in Maron. Well, Maron. Listen to me. Maron. My Latino ancestors are ashamed of me. fernandomaron.com. There is a page, or there's a section on his website that lists the predictions he's made, and it has next to it the ones that were totally accurate, maybe 90% accurate, 70 to 80% accurate, and some 0-10% accuracy. He is so honest about the predictions that he's gotten right and the ones he's gotten wrong. And to me, that's showing some receipts, and I think that's so brilliant. And Fernie is somebody that I consider a very good psychic who can tell futures. And so I usually tell folks, go to Fernando Maron, because I do not predict futures. If someone asks me to predict the future, I look at possible futures that depend on the person's willpower and the person's actions. Because a future doesn't happen unless you do something towards the future that you want. You have to put some work in. And Fernie believes that too. But Fernie's a different level of predicting the future that I do not do at this point in my career. He is so good, and he's also ethical about it and very honest about it. And so I want to get back to the original topic of, well, we're still on topic, but I want to get back to the whole, like, is he cheating? Is she not, is she going to leave me kind of questions. I'm saying all this stuff right now because there is an ethics to there are ethics to being a psychic who gives readings to people. And we have to be honest with ourselves, with our clients like you, that we are not always accurate. There's no such thing. We are not God. It'd be nice to be God. I mean, actually, maybe it wouldn't be nice to be God, actually. That's a lot. But we are not all-powerful beings. At least not in that way. So, what do I think psychics should say when they're in a reading and you ask them, is my boyfriend cheating on me? Let's start with that. Let's start with you asking the question. And then the next thing I'm going to hit on is when a psychic sees something in the cards, that would be very tricky to bring up. So let's start with you asking the question. You ask, is my boyfriend cheating? And I tune into it. And let's say that as I'm tuning in, I see a man walking away. That man symbolizing your boyfriend. Let's just say that. What I am next going to say, and actually let me sit with this because I've had one reading like this before. It's only happened to me once. And I remember telling the person when it wasn't about infidelity, it was just about relationship problems. And I did see the relationship not working out. But what I told them was, I think it's important that you communicate more with your partner. I think you need to communicate together what exactly you want in this relationship. And if they are not up to communicate the way that you need them to, that's your sign. I did not tell her, oh, it's not going to last, so just break up. Because, again, this goes back to I am not 100% accurate. If I were to tell her that you should just break up with him, who am I to say that it would have never worked out at all? Who am I to say that, like, what if she would have stayed in the relationship and he would have made a switch or a change? Or she would have made a switch or a change and then it would have worked out. I would feel horribly if I was the reason a couple broke up when there could have been a chance that they could have worked out. That would make me a jerk. I'm going to say it. Sorry. That would make me a total jerk. So I try to be very careful in how I share what I'm getting, because I don't think it serves somebody a good purpose unless they're in an abusive relationship. That's absolutely different. Forget the psychic stuff. If there's an abusive relationship, there's no need to consult a psychic. Just somebody in your life, psychic or not, has to tell you got to leave, because that's just, it's dangerous. It's not a healthy situation. So outside of those kinds of circumstances, I don't believe it's on me to tell somebody to just leave or cut somebody out of their life. And I think what most people who get psychic readings want to hear is just, do I stay or do I go? Are they cheating or are they not cheating? And I don't know about other psychics listening to this podcast, but I'm not here to tell people how to run their lives. I'm here to guide people how to live their best life. And you may think, well, maybe the way they live their best life is by leaving that relationship, and you got to tell them to do that. But unless there is danger to their physical, mental, emotional health, like danger, I'm saying danger, like abuse, it's not up to me to tell somebody, just leave your boyfriend, just dump your girlfriend. It's not up to me to tell somebody definitively, yeah, he's cheating. Because I wouldn't be the first to say there are many psychics who have been wrong about cheatings. There have been many psychics who have been wrong about predictions. Let's get real. So when someone asks me, is my boyfriend cheating? And I see a man leaving a room, because I feel like spirit is showing me that visual. And I'm going to recap what I said before. I start to feel like, okay, this is not going to work out between them. I'm going to tell that person it's worth having that communication with this partner. Talk to them about it. See where they're at. And you might get your answer that way. And let's also think about this. If you are asking if your partner is cheating or not, what made you ask that question? Is it your insecurity? And it's something totally that you're making up because you feel insecure? Or is there something your partner is doing that is making you question their behavior? That's making you question if they are being faithful? With the first thing, that's a sign that you have to work on loving yourself more and seeing yourself as worthy of having your partner, worthy of having any amazing partner. With the second thing, maybe it means you got to talk to your partner and say, hey, I noticed you got a text from a chick the other day and you hid your phone when I looked your way. What's up with that? Some things you don't need a psychic for. Actually, there is nothing you need a psychic for. Call it a bad marketing move, call it a bad business strategy, but sorry. If everyone needed psychics to go through life, there would be psychics booked up the wazoo. You don't need a psychic to go through your life to make the biggest life decisions. A psychic is a bonus. A psychic is guidance you can get. And I've had psychic readings to get guidance myself, and it's been very helpful. But I always tell people at the end of a reading that the only way that I can read for you is because these answers, these wisdoms, they're already in your energy. I'm just here to help bring them out and shed some light on them. All the answers are with you already. And it's the reason I am so passionate about helping people to empower themselves, because when we live life from an empowered place, we know when to pick up on the bullshit. We know when someone is not being honest with us. We know when something doesn't feel right. we operate from a place of self-love and self-respect while also respecting other people. And I believe if a psychic wants to just keep you coming to them because let's say if I wanted to have you keep booking me because I want you to feel like I'm giving you all the tea, I'm giving you all the answers, I'm making life easier, that's not the point of me being a psychic. It's not the point. It's like going to a psychic for the lottery numbers because you need money. That's not what a psychic is there for. That's not what it's there for. And when it comes to relationships, again, I'm going to say it again and for the last time because I know it's going to annoy you, but unless a relationship is abusive, I don't think there's any reason to tell somebody to just break up with their partner. And listen, I'm against cheating. I think cheating is a horrible thing. Doesn't make any sense to me. Why make a promise to somebody if you're going to be unfaithful to them when you've promised to be monogamous with them? There's no point to that relationship continuing, in my opinion. That's me. But because I know that I am not 100% accurate as a psychic, I am not about to tell somebody to break up with their partner, because what if I'm misinterpreting what's coming through? It happens all the time. I am more accurate than I am inaccurate across the board. But it's not like I'm never inaccurate. It happens. The second thing I want to talk about is, let's say that I am drawing a card. Let's say someone wants to talk about, this is a good one. A good one as in, like, this is a very helpful example. Someone wants to ask me about their career. They want to do a reading on their career. And I channel information that tells me that this current job that they're in, that there's going to be a big change or layoffs, or they're going to be let go, or something's going to really change in their status with their current workplace, their current job. I have told people this before. I've told them, it seems like you're fine where you are, right? You've told me that you're fine where you are. I recommend that you start looking outside. I feel like it'd be good for you to look at other opportunities and to see what else is out there and to not limit yourself to what you're doing now. I see a lot of value in you looking into, and then I'll list some industries that I'm getting intuitively. If you look into the retail industry, you look into the entertainment industry, I'm seeing you doing this a little bit. So explore those options. Maybe open up your LinkedIn again, open up your social network, and start seeing what's out there. And I've said that before to people, and it seems to have helped. I've never had a situation where a client got fired all of a sudden or laid off all of a sudden, but I did see situations where a current workplace environment was going to go a little south, and that's what I told them. And I'm not saying that that is a script that I have every time I see a layoff or a firing in the cards, but it's usually I default to something like that because, again, what if, let's say, here's one way to look at it. Let's say that I'm seeing, let's say that I am seeing the client in a situation with a higher up or a person of authority in their company or where they work, and the person in the company is waving goodbye to my client, and the client leaves out the door. I could interpret that as letting my client go, laying them off, firing them. But what if instead it ends up being that the client's boss left the company, and then my client moved offices as a result of the boss leaving the company because there was a restructuring? See how I could interpret that same visual, that same scenario in two different ways? So what I will do in a reading is express what I'm intuitively feeling when I see that visual. But like I said, I am not 100% accurate. So this is where it's important to not say something like, well, I see them firing you. That's going to stress out the client so much. Am I going to leave a client feeling stressed the hell out once the reading ends? Like, am I here just to stress someone out? I don't believe that a psychic should let a client, or that a psychic should add more stress to a client when that reading ends, when the Zoom room closes. What's the point of the reading? what's the point? It's like, why would I leave someone feeling shittier than they did when they walked into my reading? And I'm not saying I'm going to lie to somebody, because by me saying, in terms of your career, I am seeing that it's good to not limit yourself to what you're currently doing. And I would look outside of where you work and look at other industries, or look at, like, I feel like you have more potential somewhere else. I am omitting something because if I'm misinterpreting what I'm seeing and I say the wrong thing, it's not going to serve the client any good purpose. I know there are some people that are not going to like anything I've said in this podcast episode, because look, I used to go to psychics before I started practicing as a psychic, before I knew that I had these abilities. This was in college. This was in post-grad years. And I went to psychics because I was very anxious about the relationship that I was in. And I wanted answers as to, like, should I stay? Should I go? Should I stay? Should I go? And the psychic, I saw her twice. And the first time she was really great. And she told me that I need to get my shit together. And she was right. I was so insecure in my relationship, but I was so afraid of getting hurt by my ex in that relationship. But I really was the problem. I was. And she told me that she sees this relationship growing, but I have to get my shit together. And the second time I saw her, she wasn't very great. And I was so disenchanted by the reading. But now I realize it was a bad reading. She didn't have a good reading. She was a good psychic, but it wasn't a good reading. Fast forward a year after that reading, my ex-boyfriend broke up with me because he was done with how I was acting out through my insecurities. And I felt terrible about it. But I look back and I think, okay, that psychic told me that it's going to work out, but I have to get my shit together, or it could work out. And I felt good after that reading because I almost felt like, oh, it's in the bag. I interpreted it as the client. What I heard was, oh, this is going to be a great relationship. It's going to be fine. I just have to, like, work on myself. But I didn't work on myself. And he ended up breaking up with me. And I was using psychic readings to soothe my anxieties. Now, there's nothing wrong with that, but if there's something that I can clearly work on myself to help a situation, which I did not do in that relationship, then what's the point of seeing a psychic? What's the point? Now, that psychic may be someone to kick you in the ass and remind you, like, hey, you got to work on yourself. But then I went back to the psychic a second time because I was stressed out again about that boyfriend. Or not about that boyfriend, about that relationship. He was fine. So I've been there. I wanted to hear from that psychic, you're going to spend the rest of your life with this guy, or this is going to last a really long time. And she was good in how she worded things. I just didn't understand at that time, like, oh, I actually have to work on myself. Because that's not, I heard what she was saying in the reading, but I didn't listen. So empowerment and empowered are words that you're going to hear me use a lot more in my episodes moving forward, because it's very important to me, and it's becoming increasingly important to me that you feel empowered after your readings. And the last thing I want to say is, one of the main reasons I wanted to make this episode that seems really spicy and like an unpopular opinion is because if you look for psychic readings where you are told, yes, he's cheating, no, he's not cheating, you may fall into the trap of seeing psychics who just want your money and just want you to keep coming back to them because they want you to depend on them so that they can tell you those really big life statements, those really big major statements like he's cheating. We have to be very careful. There are psychics out there who are really good at what they do, and there are psychics out there who are not very good in what they do because they haven't developed in the way that they should as psychics. And they will say things to you, or they will say things in a certain way because it is very sensationalist. It scares you. It freaks you out. So it's going to make you wanting to come back for more. Because, oh, they gave me an answer. He's cheating. Now I got to go back because it's like, how do I bring it up to him? Let me go back to the psychic and ask her, how do I break up with him? How do I bring it up? And I'm not making fun. I'm just like, it can become such a crazy cycle. And I want to save you that trouble. And this is why I'm so much about empowerment, empowering yourself. You don't need a psychic for everything. And if you have a question about something, it's a sign that you already are aware of something going on, whether it's something that has to do with another person or something that has to do with yourself and how you can work on yourself. So I'm going to end there. And I don't know why I feel nervous. I feel like this is really so many unpopular opinions in this episode, but it's important. And like I always say, I may change my mind one day, but I don't know. This one's a biggie, y'all. It's a biggie. So I'm also curious if you've had any situations where I'm curious if any of you have had a reading where a psychic made a really big statement that could change the course of your life or that could change your relationship and then it ended up not being true. I actually would love to hear those situations and how they worked out for you. And I know there are definitely situations among you listeners where a psychic said your boyfriend was cheating and he was cheating. I believe that can really happen. But like I said, some psychics are better at those things than others. Like I could give a reading tomorrow where I say that someone is being unfaithful and it's true. It can happen. But it's the way that I say it that's important. And it's also, it really can feel like a crapshoot sometimes because I'm feeling something, I'm seeing something, and I'm feeling the information and I'm interpreting it the best way that I can and I relay it to you. And it may absolutely be true. And maybe I'm not at a point in my development yet where I'm comfortable saying he's cheating. But as for now, I feel like the best thing I can do when I feel like someone is cheating in a relationship is to tell that person, listen, you got to take stock of this relationship. I would talk to him or I would ask him instead of just break up with him. Am I making sense? I don't know if I'm making sense anymore. But I will leave you with that possibly confusing last part. I don't know. I think I'm always learning, y'all. And I'd rather just be ethical and I'd rather prioritize the mental well-being of my client instead of leaving them like, he's cheating. Bye. Did you pay me? Bye. I'd rather be kinder than that. So with that, I'll leave you Can't speak. I leave you to a wonderful rest of your day and an empowered rest of your day. Sending lots of love. If you have a question or topic you want me to cover on Third Eyesight, head to my website, juanfranciscospirit.com/contact and send a message my way. If you really enjoyed this episode, leave a review wherever you listen. I'd really appreciate it.